Oh, yes.
Welcome back once again, everyone. Today we're taking a look at the brand new Transformers Back to the Future 35th Anniversary Gigawatt. Or Gigawatt, not sure how you pronounce it, but I'm going to go with Doc Brown's pronunciation. This toy is part of the Transformers X series, so like it's Transformers X Back to the Future, Transformers X Ghostbusters. It's a whole collaborative line. And just like the first collaborative toy, which was Ectotron, a Ghostbusters reference, this toy comes in a package that is meant to evoke the classic Generation 1 packaging while still mixing in some flair from the Back to the Future movie. And I would say it really succeeds at that. This is actually the second version of the toy to be released. For anyone that doesn't know, the first toy was released exclusively through Walmart.com, and it was made in exactly 1,984 copies to go with the year 1984. Which not only is that the release year of Transformers, but it was the release of the first Back to the Future movie. So they thought it was clever, haha, 1984, right? And each one was individually numbered from 1 to 1984. Now, unfortunately, if you know about that, you probably know that it was scooped up near instantaneously by bots, utilized by scalpers, and then went for exorbitant prices on eBay, including one that I saw listed for $1,984 because somebody out there thinks they're funny. And I hope no one actually bought it. If you bought it, I kind of lose respect for you. Anyway, if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at the toy's packaging, as nice as it is. Then we're going to open it up. We'll see the instructions. I don't know if it comes with anything else. Then we'll see Gigawatt himself in both his vehicle and robot modes. I'll be doing some comparisons with Siege Sideswipe, because that is the toy that this is roughly based off of. And then at the end of the video, of course, I'll give my final thoughts. So as I mentioned, this figure does come in a G1 inspired box. It's got, your usual grid patterns, the old Transformers branding. Now, of course, you get this Back to the Future cameo right here, and you get the artwork. And, it's a really neat bit of artwork. You can see the kind of flaming tire marks that are associated with the DeLorean time machine. So very neat little homage. You get the little collaborative symbol here. Up top, just like the G1 figures, you get a quick little, just like 4-step transformation from vehicle to robot. On the side, you get some photos of the toy in both vehicle and robot modes. On this side, you get a nice little screenshot of the DeLorean coming out of Doc Brown's little trailer there. So very neat. Here's some artwork of the time machine, more logos, and then you get tech specs, just like an old G1 toy. So it's neat. Get the artwork here, get all that stuff. Looks like he's got, I don't know what that's supposed to be. These are new. He's got like a flux capacitor rating and a timeliness rating or something. That's different. All right, so his function is time traveler. Makes sense. You're never out of time when you're a time machine. Fair enough. When Marty and Doc Brown need a ride through time, Gigawatt is ready to fly. Now, they have a tie-in comic book series that goes with this. So far, they only got the one issue out, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that. Somehow, some way, the DeLorean becomes a Transformer, or a Transformer takes on the form of the time machine. Not really sure. But we'll see how that plays out. Inside, you get this bit of detailing, which we'll take a closer look at when I open it. It's got like some kind of schematics for the car. And then you got kind of this raised little base here that just, tips it up at a diagonal so you can see all the detailing. So very, very nice looking. I mean, look at all that paint. I will say this thing, despite being deluxe size, does go for a Voyager price point because of all the extra stuff it comes with and just kind of the exclusive nature. It also has that little pole. Can't see it in here. Oh, there it is. So that attaches to the top of the vehicle. Overall, very nice presentation. If you like the Back to the Future movies and you like Transformers, you're going to get real giddy about this because it's a lot of fan service. All right, real quick, I want to show off the insert that comes inside the package because it's not very visible with the toy inside and the plastic shell. So this is pretty cool. It's got some schematics of the DeLorean. Got a power by flux capacitor here. It gives you a scale that I can't read because it's so small. 1/13th maybe? I don't know. got Back to the Future branding, and all this wording here, all these little specs, they do actually say something. However, I really can't read it. Like, they're very blurry. I don't have, supervision. I can almost kind of make this out. It says, if you are considering a car in the luxury class, take a careful look at this detailed Imperial something. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to strain my eyeballs trying to read that. Maybe you guys have better vision than I do, but yeah, it is pretty cool. Nice little detail that gets kind of hidden away by the toy itself. Next, we get the instructions, which are very much done up like classic Generation 1 instructions. However, this is using a very cool blue color that I think is supposed to kind of give a metallic look, so that's interesting. So you got the artwork of Gigawatt here on the front. You get your crossover logo and all that, name, branding. Open this up. Starts them in vehicle mode, and they just go straight into the transformation on the front. Bring that around to the back. This shows that you can remove the little Mr. Fusion accessory from the back of the vehicle and plug it onto his rifle, which in turn can store under the car. However, it can't store there with the Mr. Fusion attached. And then you also get the lightning rod that was used at the climax of the first movie. And you can also flip the wheels in for that iconic flight mode, that little hover mode. So, yep, very cool. And then you get just this really neat little shot of the DeLorean traveling through time on the back end here. And now we get to see Gigawatt here in his vehicle mode. You can see I've attached both of his accessories. Get the Mr. Fusion here, the lightning rod. Now, technically, to make this guy screen accurate, you kind of have to have one or the other, right? They didn't have the Mr. Fusion attachment in the first movie. So if you want to go for, movie number 1 accuracy, you want to put them like this. Or for movie number 2, you remove the lightning rod, attach to Mr. Fusion. Now, I want to point out, a lot of people complain that their Mr. Fusion doesn't connect very securely. I don't really have that issue. It stays on there. It's not the tightest connection because it's a little 3mm post that's not very long going in this little hole here. And I've heard it said that the more you attach and detach this, the silver paint might wear off, which will make the connection even looser. So I would just be very careful. If you don't already have a loose one, just put it on gently. Don't strip the paint off. The car itself is just beautifully detailed. It's got this really grainy gray texture. You can actually feel the graininess in the plastic. It's really neat. You get all sorts of wires, conduits, all kinds of cool stuff, tubing, and most of them are colored, which is really nice. Lots of paint on this. You get some here on the side, some over here. You get this little band that goes around the back. Get these little booster sections here. And get some wiring going around here. The headlights are painted. I mean, it all looks really nice. Darken the windshield, which is a good improvement. And the hubcaps look gorgeous too. Painted silver. Underside is pretty basic. You can see his head poking out, which I don't know. I don't think you can turn it backwards because it won't have enough clearance. See his flux capacitor hiding out. Here's the rifle stored away. Overall, pretty clean, aside from the head. Now, I have an issue on my copy. You may have seen it. But you notice that this wheel does not want to stay straight out. It bends in like this. That's because the panel it's on, for whatever reason, just does not want to turn all the way in. And I don't know why it's doing that. It's really annoying. It almost kind of ruins it for me. You can see that. I hope this isn't a super common issue with this toy. It might be. I haven't seen anything written down about it. But yeah, just be aware this could happen. You could end up with one with kind of a bum wheel like I have. Which, thank God I don't, display these things in vehicle mode. So yeah, aside from that little hiccup, I think this is really solid. This is really, really cool looking. And now, if you want to go full Back to the Future 2, go ahead and rotate these wheels in. And you got to make sure, because the wheels are on a hinge, but the panels are also on a hinge. So you just want to rotate the wheels, not the panels. At least on the back. So you can rotate a panel. Don't want to do that. All right. Kind of snap in place there. Make sure Mr. Fusion's on there for screen accuracy, and here you go. Here's our flying DeLorean time machine. And if I do display him in vehicle mode, it'll probably be this one, because, you know, then you can't tell that his wheel's all busted and messed up. So yeah, overall, very cool. I'm super impressed with this, and yeah, can't wait to see the robot mode. Here's a quick group shot with the basis for this mold, and this is Siege Sideswipe. And you can see on the outside, these guys have like nothing in common. This is like a total reshelling. Again, terms like retool and part sharing and all that, they're always very debatable and contentious amongst people because they're kind of nebulous, right? What constitutes a retooling versus just minor part sharing? Yeah, I mean, I'll leave that up to you, whatever you want to call this. You know, parts were brought from this guy to this guy. But I do think it's cool that despite that, you could not tell from these vehicle modes. There's nothing in common here at all. So that's great. That's great. That's a good retool right there. I like it. Okay, now we're going to do our transformation. If you haven't already, remove his accessories. Got the top accessories off. Let's go ahead and take his little rifle out too. That's what that looks like. Pretty neat. Okay, so the first step of the transformation is cool because it's opening the doors, and you get to have that really neat butterfly wing door set up here. Look at that. There's no seats or anything in there, it's just robot parts, but it's still cool that it can do that, right? The old classic lift up on the doors. I dig that. So, a lot of this transformation is going to be very similar to Sideswipes, by the way. You're going to open these panels, the shins, swing all this out, swing his feet out, which may or may not want to go. One thing you can help is by pushing in his little knee pad bits. It pushes the feet outward, so you can do that. Just be careful because you might scrape the black paint on there. All right, close these up. Make sure these are pushed in as far as they'll go. Separate the legs, spin around the waist. And you are going to... you're going to swing these bits down right here. One little extra step they added in to help flesh out the car. So these just swing down, and they'll just kind of tab in place here at the bottom. Using this little bit of ridges here. So you just get them till they click. Right now you can bring the arms up. So bring them out like so. These swinging panels now, because he's got a wider chest than Sideswipe does. Go ahead, flip out the fists, straighten the arms out. Should all look pretty familiar, right? Come on. My fist is a little tight. Okay. And you're going to start bringing this down. Now, before you flip it all the way down, you need to swing his little hood section around so you can expose his little flux capacitor. So you want to do it where this front end lifts up while the back edge lifts down. Make sure you got clearance from his head so you're not scraping paint or anything. You just flip it as far as it'll go. All right, then you are going to bring in the wheels, and they're going to swing all the way in because you're swinging the wheels in and then the panels too. So you're going to tuck inside like that. That makes clearance for his little shoulder panels here. So you swing all that in. You get these notches here on those wheel hinges that are going to tab to the inside of his shoulder panels. So you swing the chest in, swing the panels onto those tabs. And here we go. Here is Gigawatt, or Gigawatt, however you want to pronounce it. I'm going with the movie pronunciation because it's appropriate. And he really bears a very strong resemblance to Sideswipe. Again, I find that to be a weird choice because you think they'd want to differentiate him as a new character. But he pretty much looks like a chromed out Sideswipe with goggles, which is okay. It's not the same head sculpt, so don't get me wrong. It's not like he was lazy. It's a new head sculpt. They just decided for whatever reason to make it very similar to Sideswipe's helmet. Again, you can see that really cool flux capacitor on the chest there. It's painted a light blue. And he's got some dates here. And these dates are cool because they correlate with the 3 dates that are visited by Doc and Marty within the first 2 movies. right? So you got 1985, 2015, that's from the second movie, and then 1955 is when they went to the past. So all very cool. He's even got little molded flux capacitors on his knees, though they're not painted. They're still neat looking. Now, unfortunately, that same issue I had in vehicle mode still kind of rears its ugly head, because this wheel still bends in a bit. Now, it's not going to affect his robot mode in any way, but it does lead to it being a little asymmetrical. I guess I could bend this one a little bit if I want to cheat, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's like that. It really is a shame. Very weird. Maybe the pin's bent or something. He does end up getting these kind of wing-like appendages on his back because of the doors. I think that's kind of cool. Very anime-like. Legs have a lot of kibble and stuff from the wires, but that's okay. All right, now, as far as accessories. So for his rifle, you take this, and you take your Mr. Fusion. And you just plug it in here like so. Just like that. Let him wield it. Doesn't plug in very far because the Mr. Fusion kind of collides with his forearm. So just be aware of that. And then his little lightning rod thing becomes kind of a shoulder-mounted whip or something. Well, you can really mount it anywhere. Forearm, shoulder, however you want to do it. The forearm's good because it makes it more like an actual weapon, you know, hook or whip or something. Or you can put it on the shoulder to kind of just tuck it out of the way. A little tight for the shoulder port, but it'll go. If you want it more as just kind of a bit of kibble. That's up to you. Either way, it looks pretty cool in my opinion. Yeah, I really dig this. Obviously, he's got all the same posability that Sideswipe does. So he's got the ball-jointed head. He's got his waist swivel. He's got the universal shoulders, bicep swivel, elbows. Still no wrist swivel. He's got the universal hips, bending knees, thigh swivel, and ankle tilt. Along with not really rocking officially, just kind of some wiggle room. Yeah, so if you like Sideswipe's design and his posability, you should like this, because they're very similar in that regard. Okay, now we get our final group shot with Sideswipe. And this is where you can kind of see what's the same, what's different. Really, the only parts that I can see that appear to be the same parts, his little shoulder attachments here, these little bits that are like black on him, white on Sideswipe, they're the same. Which is actually interesting because you could have him wield Sideswipe shoulder cannon with these. Something I just realized, but check this out. A little tight, but there we go. Look at that. Look at that. He can steal a shoulder cannon. You'll also notice that the arms are very similar. These inner shoulder joints appear to be the same. The outer panels are actually different pieces. They have different designs etched into them. But the lower arms, forearms, all that, they appear to be the same, as well as the hands. And then you get to the pelvic area and the thighs all appear to be the same pieces. Outside of that, I think maybe these hinge bits for the feet are the same. These little black hinges here on the bottom. And that's all I can see. If it's anything else, minor little inner workings. So they did a really good job of differentiating this guy from Sideswipe. And he's got a pretty different silhouette because, again, he's much wider, almost kind of portly looking, but he definitely fits that 80s sci-fi robot vibe a little better with the very square chest and all that. And it's interesting because despite his bulk, he and Sideswipe are almost exactly the same height. In fact, I think Sideswipe might win out by a tiny bit because he has a kind of a bit of a higher crest and horns on his helmet. So overall, though, very similar. They're both very posable toys, very dynamic looking. You can get some great shots out of them. And yeah, I think this is just a really neat way to take a very basic, car robot mold, turn it into something different. And I would say with the added paint apps, the higher parts count, more accessories, all that stuff, I think this guy is worth the slight rise in cost that he comes with. He does cost more than your standard deluxe. And he does very much feel like some sort of special edition toy, which is great. If I am going to pay extra for some kind of exclusive, I want it to feel special. I want it to feel exclusive, like there's more effort put into it. And I don't think the price point's too far off for him, for today's market anyway. 10 years ago, yeah, it'd be too much, but, you know. So, personally, I would recommend getting this guy if you haven't already. And I'm a little late to the party with this. But Hasbro, they did, 2 stocks of them. In fact, I think the second pre-order still hasn't shipped. Whether or not it's still in stock, I'm not sure. But I would look into it. Standard version. Don't pay stupid amounts of money for that ridiculous limited Walmart run because you're just getting a sticker on a box. Like, who cares? Don't feed the scalpers. Just go ahead and get the standard version. This guy's a lot of fun. Even if you don't really care for crossovers, he's just a really neat little toy. And I do love the fact that either by design or just circumstance, he can utilize the accessories that come with the Sideswipe mold. I think that's pretty neat. So yeah, I think he makes a strong case for the crossover products, right? We're several steps up from the old crossover type things. When you think of like the old the Marvel Transformers, right? Like the Hulk and the Spider-Man, they were pretty awful. I wasn't a fan. The Star Wars ones, I think, were a little better, but still not like mind-blowing. This is a good crossover figure because it works as the DeLorean from Back to the Future, but also just works as a Transformer. It's a good Transformer. So 100% recommend this guy. I think he's really cool. And again, I was on the fence about buying the crossover stuff because I was just like, where am I going to put this in my collection? They don't really fit anywhere. I'm happy I did. They might just get their own little shelf somewhere once I get all the different crossovers because this guy is just too cool to pass up. Of course, that is just my take on Gigawatt. Now I want to know what you all think of him. Do you see a place in your collection for this guy? And if so, is it because he's really cool or because you like Back to the Future? Or if not, why is it? Are you just not interested in crossovers? Do you not like the figure itself? Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the Transformers X Back to the Future collaborative Autobot Gigawatt. And with all that said, I will see you next time.